once again back to talk about a film that was first out over 20 years ago. So last time I did this was a couple of weeks back. I came to see Shaun of the Dead, which is 20 years old this year, and I've just come out from seeing Gladiator, which is now 24 years old. It was released in May 2000, and I saw it at the cinema then as well. And I came along tonight or this afternoon wondering if I would find flaws with it, not deliberately, but just if I would look at it 20 plus years on and see it differently. And I didn't. If anything, I possibly enjoyed it more than when I saw it for the first time. A bit of nostalgia first, if you will indulge me. I went to see Gladiator when it first came out with my then boyfriend, a gentleman by the name of James, and at the time my dad was in intensive care at Newcastle General Hospital, having fallen a very long way onto his head at work. So my dad was in the hospital, and it was all a bit scary. So James took me to the cinema to take my mind off it. It was the night before my first A-level exam, and my first A-level was, I think, an English language paper, so I couldn't revise for it. So it was like, do you know what, I'm going to take you to the cinema, take your mind off your dad and your exam. However, we must have gone quite late and also not realised how long the film was, because, you know, this is 2000. There's no IMDb to check the running time of a film, so we bimbled in there. And I remember looking at my phone on my watch and thinking, it's gone past midnight. It is in fact now the next day. I've got an A-level exam today and I'm still in the cinema. And I did love the film at the time. And I remember waiting for it to come out on VHS, like being well excited about it being released on VHS. I feel like by the time it came out on VHS, I was at uni. Like, how big was the gap between cinema release and VHS back then? I have memories, again, really clear memories of me and Kim, who was my best mate at uni, he was on my course, like going down to Blockbuster on the day that it came out, because we were just so desperate to see it again, because she had loved it as well. Can you hear that? Am I about to be attacked by birds? Weird. So yeah, I have a lot of like really strong memories tied to this film and the watching of it. I definitely had like a Gladiator poster up in my bedroom. But I can't say it's a film I've revisited frequently over the last 2 decades. I know I've seen it a few times, but I never really think, oh, I'll just pop on Gladiator because I've got a spare 2.5, 3 hours. So it's been a really long time since I last watched it. And I did wonder if I would come at it with, you know, a different perspective and not pick holes in it deliberately, but just go, oh yeah, I can see that's dated a bit, or that. Honestly, this film is really good. Newsflash, Gladiator, really good. I'm going to sneeze. Am I going to sneeze? I think I am. Am I? No, I'm not. I am. I don't know. Do you know what? I've had some more followers to my channel just recently, and so far I've talked about, like, my dad having an accident, my boyfriend when I was 18, my A-levels, and then just had to stop in case I sneezed. Yeah, Gladiator's really good. Turns out Ridley Scott's good at making films and that. I mean, not all of his films. I don't love all of his films. He's had some duffers. But God, when he's good, he's good. And this is so good. It's so good, man. Why was it good? Well, let me tell you. First of all, the big old battle scene right at the beginning. Brilliant. Why is it brilliant? Because this was made around 99, 2000. Your CGI is in its infancy, or it's certainly not up to the standards that we're used to now. So that big old battle scene would have been hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of extras dressed as Roman soldiers and Germanians in a woods somewhere, freezing their knackers off, hour after hour after hour, filming this massive battle scene. It's really real and gruesome and brutal and bloody, and the bloody soundtrack. And again, like, we've all heard the Gladiator soundtrack to death over the last 2 decades, but when you're sat there in a cinema and it's big battle and people are getting their heads lobbed off and it's big Hans Zimmer giving it the big old with the orchestra, my God, it's powerful. Loved it. Big old battle scene. Richard Harris, amazing. Felt a bit sad because he was giving me obviously Dumbledore vibes. Then I felt sad. I felt sad that he only made 2 Harry Potter films, and then we had to switch over to Michael Gambon. God rest him. I loved Michael Gambon, but he was a terrible Dumbledore. So yeah, seeing Richard Harris again made me really emotional. I was crying really early watching this. I cried a lot, but I cried really early watching this film. I was like, why am I crying? I've seen this film before. Just hits differently when you're 24 years older and you're now a parent and you're looking at things differently. So yeah, big battle scene's really good. Richard Harris, all the gravitas. Russell Crowe is fantastic in this film. Now, he was quite the heartthrob. It's interesting. I looked at him now and I went, there's not actually, excuse me, I think I'm going to cough now. No, I'm not. There's actually nothing special about him. He's a very ordinary looking man. It's just the role and the like grit and the sort of heft that he gives it and the big British accent. Why he's got a British accent, I don't really know, but we just go with it. Everybody's got British accents. Yeah, I am going to cough, sorry. I've got a really dry throat. He's really good and he's really manly and beardy, but actually just average handsome. That was one of the things I thought was actually, he's actually not that. It's just the part. And then, speaking of awesome performances, how bloody good is Joaquin Phoenix in this film? Now, Joaquin Phoenix has gone on to have a very interesting, there's some sort of extended car horn going off behind me now. Joaquin Phoenix has gone on to have a very varied and interesting career. I literally watched him like a couple of weeks ago, a week or so ago, in the Joker sequel. He's had quite an odd and interesting and varied career, and he's a very interesting guy. He's so good in this film. And I've just looked him up. Like, I was trying to figure out how old he would have been at the time. He would have been in his mid-20s, maybe about 25 when he made it, about 26 by the time the film came out. He's really good because Commodus is complex and loathsome and petty and spiteful and spineless, and he just, when there's a villain where you want to reach through the screen and like choke the life out of them. It's how I felt about Tim Roth's character and Rob Roy. When you get somebody that you're like, you absolutely boil my piss, they're a good villain. Joaquin Phoenix is a good film, but he's like pathetic, but you hate him. Connie Nielsen wafts around in beautiful dresses. The costumes in this film are superb. She wafts about looking beautiful and troubled. Don't remember I didn't really register the extent of the incest that's hinted at. I mean, obviously she's not into it, but her brother definitely is, and file that one firmly under vom. So she's brilliant. Joaquin Phoenix is superb. I'd completely forgotten Derek Jacobi was in it. He was ace. And then Oliver bloody Reed in his last role ever, also wafting about in his robes, just being Oliver Reed. I'd completely forgotten the early line that he says when we first meet him: those giraffes you sold me won't mate, they just eat all day, they won't mate. You sold me queer giraffes. And I actually laughed out loud. I thought, what a legacy. And I do know which bit of the film whereby he had actually passed away and they had to finish it off with CGI, but they did a good job. I do know which bit it is, but I think if I didn't know, I wouldn't be able to tell, if that makes sense. I think there's a bit of hefty CGI going on the outside of the Colosseum that I think would be better now, but that's nitpicking. The Colosseum stuff is just electric, and even knowing the outcome of everything, it didn't make it any less powerful. All the stuff to do with his wife and child just punched me in the feels, and I had to be weeping. Jimon Huson, oh god, he's Honsu. I can't think of the guy. I can't pronounce the guy's name. I've never been able to pronounce it. And he's so good in it. He actually looks well young, but he was. Oh, man. Just, it's really good. Newsflash, Gladiator, thumbs up. I mean, I like, is that or that? No, that. All the way. It's brilliant. Cinema, man. I love cinema so much. I love big screens and I love big screen films. And I'm excited for the sequel, and it better not be shit. And I'm just sad, man, because this cinema that I just watched it in is going to be torn down, and it makes me sad, and now I'm going to get upset. So stupid. Cinema. Go and watch films that are 20 years old in the cinema, because it is such a different experience. I could have sat at home and watched Gladiator today, and it would not have been the same as seeing what Ridley Scott envisaged on the biggest screen. It was just brilliant, and I'm really glad that I got to see it, and I don't know why I'm crying, and cinema's brilliant, and now I need to stop talking. Okay, thanks for listening. Katie out.